Hi, I'm Nathan, and I explore with you unconventional and advanced ways of being to see and go beyond the obvious so that you embody and learn about your unique self and create your own path in this lifetime. A few ways on how I do this is with intuition, ongoing study of the body-mind complex, observation and witnessing what is, contributing awareness on emotional intelligence, looking at life from multiple angles, and helping people see the correlation between their life experiences and how stress or disease is showing up in one's body. Today, I have my friend Kristin here, and she's going to share her experiences with us of a in-person body talk session. Then we also did a remote session while she was in Peru.
Hi, I'm Kristin. I am 27. I am a world traveler, a permaculture and sustainability enthusiast, a being that is extremely interested in integration, expansion, growth, and learning about the universe and healing ancestral trauma and childhood trauma in Western astrology. My rising sign is Aries, my moon sign is Sagittarius, and my sun sign is Cancer.
What are your current values, and would you like to share them?
Yes, authenticity, connection, integration, and sustainability. Empathy is also definitely a value that's at the forefront of most of my existence. It's just part of who I am.
Do you feel comfortable sharing what happened in the past that led you to today and the values that you currently hold dear to you?
Yeah, I do. I experienced a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of rejection and abandonment through originally being adopted, having that original thought in the womb of I'm not wanted and I'm not loved. As I grew up, I believe that those thoughts and those beliefs became my reality, and I felt completely disowned and abandoned by my family, peers. And I got to a point where I was considering suicide in my teens. I was drinking a lot of alcohol, making decisions that didn't serve my expansion, or I would lie about everything to meet my needs. My relationships were less than successful. In 2014, I hit the lowest point. I lost a partner that I was with for 5.5 years. I had lost a good friend to overdosing. I had been in a car accident, and I had also been in a horse accident.
Are you open to share how either accident impacted your body or your perspective?
The accidents created a lot of anxiety, a lot of weariness, a lot of back pain, a lot of neck pain, just an overall sense of feeling really fragile. Life is out to get me. I'm supposed to be dead for sure, because nothing is going right. Life is not worth living. Everything hurts. It was the perception that I had about the universe. I was also starting to deconstruct my religious beliefs. I had grown up Catholic and then Christian. And then in 2014, after working an advocacy job against domestic violence and sexual assault, that really challenged my core beliefs about religion and power and control, I was having an identity crisis. And I just felt it was possible that this wasn't the way that life was supposed to be. And I am not existing for the pure intention of suffering. I decided that I wanted to do some deep work on myself. Really believe it was my intuition. I have always been somebody who questions everything. I was starting to feel like, what did I do wrong? Why am I bad? So actually self-blame and self-hate was what turned me inwards to fix myself. I'm glad to be at a point now where I don't really feel like there's such a thing as like fixing myself, rather like integrating and reestablishing myself and being more in alignment with things that are true to my soul and my heart, not so much other people's perspectives and beliefs.
So do you feel comfortable sharing how we met?
Well, I met Nathan hiking through a synchronicity of a mutual acquaintance that we share.
Yeah.
Keep your Illuminati signs down, Stefan.
Well, instantly when I met him, I thought, I know this person from somewhere. And then I just had this intuition to sit next to him and start asking him about, he had a book of destiny cards, and I was so intrigued. He was telling me about his business and mentioned body talk. And I told him that I had had a body talk session before and that I'd be really interested in having another one. And that day we booked a session. All the synchronicities were just there and I couldn't deny it.
Would you be open to share, how did you become aware of body talk?
I went to this acupuncturist because it was the first one that resonated with me, and he just happened to be someone that did body talk, and he had suggested it to accompany the acupuncture treatment. My body was holding on to a lot of old memories and old patterns from my childhood. So, and it was ancestral as well.
Before you knew about your design and just making decisions from your gut brain, did you feel comfortable at the time when you were getting that body talk demo?
Yeah, I did feel it was really interesting. I will say that there were some differences in the way that you did it as a practitioner versus the way that he did it as a practitioner. I felt like the way that Nathan did the sessions was different in the sense that it was more supportive and it went into deeper detail. When it was presented from the acupuncturist, it was more based off of pragmatic logic. There wasn't a lot of empathy or really deep connection. I felt that person was there and I was kind of just another patient. Whereas when Nathan did it, I felt like I genuinely was being supported on like a soul level. Like this person is really interested in doing this work because he loves this work. And for me, that's really a huge deal because I tend to be a person with a ton of passion.
I feel moved when I hear that, and it helps me learn. So thank you. It's a gift of appreciation. So would you be open to share a little bit of what were you thinking that was keeping you up at night with your eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling before we did our first in-person body talk session?
Just not able to sleep, just constantly feeling worried. What's going to happen tomorrow? What do I need to do to get out of the situation that I'm in? Who do I need to talk to? Like, how do I help myself? What are my next steps? Like these constant frantic thoughts that were just like piling up in this vortex in my brain, creating this like black hole of a magnet. It was just intense. And I had some other health issues that were like on a physical level that were affecting my anxiety. I had parasites. I had been diagnosed with Lyme's disease. I was stuck in a pattern, in a loop of I can't get out of here. I can't leave. I can't support myself. I don't have anything I need in order to be a successful autonomous adult. And so I was living with my parents and all year going through my healing process and living at the house where I had most of my childhood trauma occur was contributing to that cycle of thoughts and beliefs that were creating a really negative loophole in my consciousness. I was grateful when we met up because it gave me a sign of hope that I'm not alone and this is just part of the journey and it's not going to be this way forever. And there are people out there that are doing the work and that are willing to hold space and be compassionate and have a great understanding and awareness for what I might be going through. So that was a huge helpful contributor. Thank you.
Is there anybody that you were angry at specifically during that time?
Yeah, I was really holding a lot of rage and resentment and blame and shame towards my mom and my dad who adopted me, as well as my biological mother, just for perceiving that they were constantly putting me in a state of powerlessness and not meeting my emotional needs for recognition, empathy, connection, support, unconditional love. Like their love was very conditional. And I felt so hateful towards my siblings growing up because I felt that they were unconditionally loved by my parents and that I was not, because I was adopted and because I didn't fit into the mold of what they expected a child to be like. I had a lot of different gifts and a lot of different ancestral traumas that I was carrying and a lot of different core beliefs, I think, than my brother and sister did. I was holding on to that and really not wanting to take any responsibility for my own path, my own intention on coming into this life and my own choices, and constantly playing the victim, like, oh, like everybody's out to get me, no one loves me, and I hate my family. I was saying that and feeling that way and blaming them for everything, but still living off of them, expecting them to meet all my needs, because that was a pattern that I had developed from when I was a child, and I expected them subconsciously to meet the needs that I didn't believe I could meet myself because I wasn't given the tools. And that really pissed me off because I had a expectation of myself. I should be in a different place. Why am I not where I'm supposed to be? That anger and that grudge holding really changed or moved by the body talk sessions that we've done. Getting to the root of the memories, seeing how that manifested into like physical ailments, and being able to rewire my brain and my nervous system and train it to respond differently to old stimuli was really powerful and helpful. I no longer blame them. I don't feel like I want them to suffer or I want them to pay. I recognize that like they were just on a different path. I don't believe that we were very compatible. And I believe that time and being more on the path towards integration and healing has really helped to hold a space of like compassion and empathy for them and for my whole family.
Were you angry at yourself at all before we did our first in-person body talk session?
I was projecting my self-hate onto my family and friends and peers. I had such a low tolerance for myself and for my journey, and such high expectations based off of the expectations that I had from society, that I just was like, I am failing. I'm a complete failure at life. So I hate myself because I've wasted my entire life on doing nothing but feeding off of other people's energy. And I also hated myself on another level of not feeling attracted. And that was something that came up in the body talk session that I felt was just nail on the head, you know, so direct, like just this absolute fear of intimacy, fear of sexual relationships, fear of anything that had to do with connection or closeness, because I had so much hate for myself and my body. So addicted to the perception of what my body should look like based off of what other people say it should look like. I just assumed that I was not worthy of intimacy or love or affection.
Before the first session, were you aware of how these certain belief systems were creating the hormone of cortisol, which then led to the feelings of anger?
No, I wasn't. That was something that I learned from you. That was extremely helpful in learning how the ripple effect of like emotions and thoughts then ripple out into these greater physical manifestations of issues and problems, and can be carried on to your kids or from your parents. A lot of the anger and the hormonal imbalances that were going on, my biological mother and father dealt with. So knowing that was absolute proof that this is so on point. Like body talk, again, hit the nail on the head. The start of the anger, that came from a sense of powerless from being abused as a child, emotionally and physically. That just stayed with me all the way up until our body talk sessions, where that was reprogrammed and witnessed and understood. That was really helpful.
Were there other practitioners or therapies or technologies to help you with this core wound of being adopted as a young child, facing these thoughts that were leading to feelings of anger?
Yes, definitely. I was actively seeking out different healing modalities. I was seeing a nutritionist. I also got certified in Reiki so that I could be a conduit for this energy on myself before I start trying to help other people. I was receiving acupuncture. I had been seeing a MD and 2 naturopathic doctors.
What was the thinking behind, if I have a label, a diagnosis, what were you telling yourself that that would do?
I can fix it. There will be a cure. Like, I can find the solution to my problem. What I was really searching for actually was a label to put on what was wrong with me. And I felt like a doctor would give that to me. What I had been used to in childhood, that pattern was there's a pill for it. And I knew in my being that I didn't want to take pills for whatever they were going to diagnose me with. If someone just knew what was going on, then I would have validation that something was wrong with me. And if I knew that something was wrong with me, then I just had an excuse to keep up my limiting belief systems and also meet my need for attention and support and connection. I felt like I was getting those needs met through being sick, through having imbalances, and all this confusion and, all these symptoms and problems were just ways for me to get the support that I needed. I did not desire consciously to be spending all my thousands and thousands of dollars and time on healing when I was like hoping I could be doing it, finding something I enjoyed about life. But apparently what I enjoyed about life was being sick. The diagnosis that I got back most frequently was anxiety, and that wasn't good enough for me because I was like, yeah, everybody's always told me that. That's just anxiety. Anxiety's not a big deal. Like, it's not this huge, catastrophic, world-ending problem, or at least I didn't believe that. After kind of hitting a dead end with the doctors, I was lucky enough to have a session with a craniosacral therapist who introduced me to the Rife machine and also to the Skio machine. And those were amazing because the results were instant. The technology read the frequencies that were in my body.
Even though you're seeing like Reiki and acupuncture, which addresses the vital body, it sounds like that on some level you're aware of even this deeper dimension of yourself.
I feel like I was searching for meaning, purpose, belonging. I had never felt loved or worthy of love. I don't even know if I knew what love was. I actually was having a lot of menstrual problems as well, 2 periods a year for like 4 or 5 years. And just, I had taken a whole bunch of hormonal birth control that screwed me up along with stress, etc. After that session with the Rife, my period had come back for the first time in a long time. And then the next one had actually come back after I did Body Talk with you. So that was positive. I was on the right path. Okay, this technology is real and people need to know about it because it could really eliminate the pharmaceutical industry.
What a gift that we can share our stories and our service with people watching this so they can see what else is possible, that there is and are many technologies and integrative systems that are non-invasive, that help support the body-mind on the level of frequency. So you don't have to do things on a physical level for a very long time, or people don't need to do it longer than they prefer. Ideally, we want to get balanced and go have fun and live life in the time that we have. So would you be open to share one thing where you then felt confident to move forward in booking a Body Talk session with me?
You came across very confident in your ability to be a practitioner of this work, and your demeanor and the sense of groundedness and calmness really made me feel like, okay, this person isn't someone that is just kind of going off of what he's heard, but he's actually done the research, done the work, and he's developed a passion for it. And because of that, I felt like I could trust the work that you did. My intuition said, he knows what he's doing in this field.
Any thoughts that were going through your head right before you decided to book the session on the website?
My mind was kind of like, what makes you feel like this would be any different than the body talk you already had? Do you really need it? Is this in your best interest to invest in? But I just felt like I needed to do it. And I'm glad that I did, because the session turned out to be really, really eye-opening, extremely helpful for me to learn to trust somebody else's intuition rather than always trying to rely on just thinking I know what's best for me. Because I'm learning, like, when you're in a state of anxiety, in a state of trauma, in a state of depression, your brain and your hormones aren't always working in a coherent, rational sense. So it's important to make sure that the decisions that you do make are, not going to like tumbleweed into like a negative consequence. I felt confident that you knew what you were doing, and that helped me to feel, okay, I'm going to do this. And that risk turned out to be worth it, because there were things that were never touched from my practitioner who did the acupuncture on me. The specific things that you discussed and elaborated on with like my small intestine and my colon and my large intestine and my hypothalamus and my amygdala, those were not things that had come up in such like detail. Like, it really created this sense of, oh, here I am, just like being super vulnerable, which is not a place that I really am comfortable being with other people. And I didn't feel like I needed to be afraid of being that vulnerable, because you were there to be supportive and help facilitate a healing with the help of other higher forms of intelligence and wisdom, ancestral wisdom and beyond. So I felt safe and connected in that way.
Did any of these modalities or technologies address family dynamics or ancestral trauma?
Body Talk definitely did, as well as Dr. Asta in New Mexico. I also was going to a psychotherapist who integrated energy work in her sessions. She also used astrology. The biggest thing for me was learning that I'm carrying so much stuff from my parents and my grandparents into this life that I have owned and claimed and believed is mine, but it isn't.
And was that supportive to go beyond just the energy anatomy of Reiki and acupuncture to look at this larger picture of how a family system can affect belief systems and energy and even the physical body?
Yeah, it did help.
Would you be open to share what some of your first observations were before our in-person body talk session?
I was extremely depressed, anxious, with a sense of all loneliness. I had a lot of digestive issues, swelling and inflammation, chest pain, feeling an overall lack of joy, drive, faith in life.
Do you feel comfortable sharing some things that you noticed during the session?
A sensation of relaxation, feeling connected, feeling witnessed, feeling understood. I felt like falling asleep. I noticed that I heard so many gut sounds. Like my stomach was a whole different entity that was just like chatting away at me. Like, what's going on? That was new. Pretty much exactly. Exactly that.
Or, thank you. Yep.
I had a sense of relief and hope, and I felt comfortable and trusting, really grateful for all the wisdom that Nathan provided and patience that he exemplified and the guidance that I was receiving. It was just great. The information that came through to Nathan about my session was just so incredibly spot on and just put me in a place of really facing my truth, which I hadn't experienced through another practitioner on such a deep level before. Some of the things that came up were some of the limitations and programs that had been in place on my system, self-imposed and or from outside sources. I was dealing with many shadows such as distraction from social media, other people's problems, environmental concerns, politics, people telling me how to think, being distracted by the outer world and not focused on the inner world, blaming other people for what happens to me instead of realizing that my circumstances reflect my inner state. I just wasn't expecting Nathan to go into so much vivid detail about my specific system and my being and my body and its needs and my programming and patterns that I wasn't aware of, and I had not experienced this level of depth. There was just so much perspective that I hadn't considered because it hadn't been brought to my attention before. That was very helpful, very, I would say, enlightening, and just provided me with a great sense of hope for learning more about my patterns and how to approach them differently than I have my entire life.
I believe that the depth and degree in which the practitioner is actively learning about like the new science, the new physiology, new physics, the quantum physics is going to be the depth that the body can show us in a session.
The information that came to me through this modality was the realization that my aura is the thing that really does the talking. Awareness in the physical body was something that I obviously had a need to integrate or become more aware of, and becoming more aware of the unity of all life. This was under intent section of purpose. Those all speak really deeply to my soul, and I felt like having that information really gave me a lot of clarity.
So would you feel comfortable sharing what you observed after your first in-person body talk session with me?
I felt much lighter. My need for connection was met. I was so happy to learn about cortices tapping. That was the biggest takeaway, I think, that I've really continued to implement a weekly basis. I felt confident that I was going to continue to complete my healing journey much quicker than I had originally expected. I felt empowered by my body's natural ability to heal itself. And I felt my body is not against me. It's actually really, really trying to help me. So I noticed that after the first session, my menstrual cycle returned to a normal state. I definitely do believe that the body talk really helped with that.
Would you be open to share how you were motivated or comfortable to do the second session remotely with me?
The remote session was going to be just as valuable and as effective as the in-person session, because I have witnessed through my own experiences with healing of the quantum field, you don't need to be physically present, is my worldview, for energy to be transmitted or transmuted. My worldview is that we live in a interconnected quantum field. Nothing is separate from anything else. Everything is unified. We are at the highest level, like everything is one. That includes thoughts, that includes intentions, that includes emotions and feelings and all this energy. The results were just as amazing after the second session that was remote. And what led me to doing a remote session was the fact that I was not in the country at the time. I was living in Lima, Peru, teaching English. I just really was feeling, a deep need for some examination of the self.
Would you be open to share observations before the first session?
I just felt it was so much easier to be able to just walk and go about what I was needing to get done in the day, knowing that I didn't have to do anything or be anywhere specifically to dedicate a specific hour-long time slot to be in a room present when I had other things going on. It was just really nice to know that option was available. Distance healing is such a gift for those of us who have just a lot going on and just sometimes too much all at once. It's like, oh, there's a healing going on, and I can still be going grocery shopping or being at work and not have to think about what's going on, because this has a connection to my body without me being consciously present with it. How great that is to not have the pressure of having to be in one place at one time and work out different time zones. Very enlightening, the intelligence of the body through the quantum field, communicating in a way that the practitioner, Nathan, understands and can relate back to me. It was just really helpful. You had done the session right before I had woken up. The living situation that I was in was less than desirable. There was a lot of tension and turmoil, conflict, low frequency, just needing to be seen, needing to be respected, needing to be witnessed, needing to feel connection, needing a shared sense of empathy, needing boundaries. And I wasn't receiving any of those things on a consistent basis. It was more, sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't. It was mostly just an uncomfortable mess. I had been developing some skin issues while I was down there. I wasn't really sure why. There was a huge rash that had just like exploded out of my neck and like left my whole chin just a red mess. I could not figure out what it was. And when Nathan and I had talked about doing a second session, I intuitively had the desire to share with him a picture of this rash because I just didn't understand where it was coming from. And his intuition led him to going into that for the session. And come to find out, it was bringing up a whole bunch of family trauma, family lineage, birth trauma, specifically my birth mom and my anger and resentment towards her and lack of compassion. After the session, I was very peaceful and I felt grateful for the information, and I felt a sense of safety, of clarity and confidence. And I had a huge rash. It was so intense. 4 days after the session, the rash was gone.
So you had a large rash around the thyroid, and then in the session, your body communicated that it was a priority to balance the parathyroid, the thyroid, some of the hormones in there, and then some belief systems about relationship with biological mom. And in resolving some of those, you noticed that this rash around the thyroid actually started to clear up.
Definitely.
Would you be open to share what type of person you believe that this service would resonate with the most?
Any person that really wants to get to the root of their issues, their concerns, their trauma, anybody who has the desire to really heal, do deep integration work, deep self-awareness work, and anyone who really just has a passion for learning more about the body in an unconventional way.
Deep divers.
Yes.
Infinite waters.
Diving deep once again. Anyone who wants to come into alignment with their soul intention, with their purpose, with their passion, with their power, that isn't able to at this point because they feel stuck or they feel like there is something keeping them from reaching their full potential. I feel like Body Talk, as well as all the modalities that I listed, are really great ways to help one get in alignment.
Would you be open to share what your desired outcome is now?
Now is more joy in life, to bring in and experience more joy, to also create connection that's lasting with other people, because I feel like I'm a tribal species, so I enjoy connection and community, and especially with people that are willing to do the deep work and the reflection and have self-awareness. And I do believe that we're all one, but definitely finding a tribe is definitely my desired outcome for this life. My intention as a soul was to come in with the intention of experiencing unconditional love. I could only know that by experiencing not love.
Would you be open to share what you wish to see more of in the world?
I wish to see more integration of fragmented pieces of my being. And I wish to see that in other people too. Those parts of myself that I denied, disowned, or rejected, or split off. What I would love to see more of is for people to go back and look at those parts with a sense of compassion, the root of all the shit that goes on in our societies, in our politics, in our wars, in all the issues that we have. I feel stems from a sense of separation and loneliness. We are reflections of one another. Don't give up on yourself. You have free will and freedom to make your own choices and to do the work. And it is possible. Things will and can get so much better, and you will be able to manifest the life that you really desire and that you really want. Healing isn't always peaches and unicorns, and it makes you question the world. Choosing to come down to this planet at this time is an act of strength and bravery for anyone. We're all still trying to figure it out, and no one, no matter what they say, what they do, what they teach, what they believe, no one knows it all, because you can't, because there's limitless perspectives and worldviews. You're not a failure and you're not doing anything wrong. Just keep striving to do the work that you feel called to do, and follow your joy. Find things that you enjoy and follow them. And find people who follow their joy and follow them.
Thank you for sharing your view. It's a gift of authenticity and honesty, huge gift of trust and transparency. And thank you, Kristin, for sharing your experiences. It meets such a deep desire of mine for celebrating what we explored together going through these sessions. And I look forward to continuing being your friend and supporting you along the way.
I appreciate the work that you do, the gifts that you have, and what you bring to this planet.
Give me some direction. Give me some direction. Able minds are working, open hearts are